Welcome to the Sunriver Anglers Fly Tying Corner, where each month we bring you a new fly pattern to give a try to on our Central Oregon lakes and rivers. In addition to showing you how to tie each pattern, I'll feature fishing technique tips and tricks, and I'll cover some of the entomology behind each pattern to help gain a better understanding of the bugs that we're trying to imitate. I have field tested each of the patterns that I feature each month to make sure that they catch fish. I'll cover tying instructions for the fly as well as materials to help you be able to recreate these patterns on your own vise. For this month's pattern, I'm going to tie Andrew Grillos' Hippie Stomper pattern. This is a pattern I've used with good success on our lakes, imitating some of our large beetles and ants that live here in Central Oregon. And I tied this particular pattern, modified somewhat from Andrew's original. I'm using a red holographic tinsel in the abdomen of this fly, and I'm using just one layer of black foam. The original calls for two. I did this because I'm tying it in a smaller size, and that helps imitate the size of the naturals, some of the natural beetles and ants in our area. I like the red color on this that just really seems to provoke trout strikes. So give it a try. I think you'll like this pattern. So let me briefly show you the materials list for this pattern. As I tie the fly, I'll introduce each material in greater detail. So let's get tying the Hippie Stomper in red. I'm going to begin by introducing the first two materials. For a hook, I'm using a Firehole 718, size 14. You can range this anywhere from probably 8 up to 16 or maybe even 18. This is a competition barbless hook that I like a lot for a pattern like the Hippie Stomper. The thread I'm using is Ultra 140 denier in black. For the tail, I'm using moose body hair that I'll clean and then tie in as the tail on this pattern. With my hook in the vise, I'm going to go ahead and lay down a layer of thread, and I will clip off some of my moose body hair, and I'm going to clean that and stack it, and then I'm going to go ahead and tie that in right about the 2/3 point of this hook, and wind all the way back to the tail set position. On the abdomen of this fly, I'm going to fold over some 2mm black craft foam. Next, I'm going to tie in a strip of my black foam. I've clipped this off about 3/16 of an inch wide. I'm really trying to estimate this as the hook gape in width. And I'll tie this on very tightly back to the tail set, but give care not to tie over the tail and push that tail downward. And so I'll go ahead and tie that off, and then I'm going to add a layer or two of thread just to balance out the body. For the abdomen, I'm using UTC Holo Tinsel, and this is large in red. Next, I'm going to tie in my holographic red tinsel, starting up at that 2/3 point, and I'll tie that all the way back to the tail set position. And before I start wrapping this up the shank of the hook, I'm going to add a little super glue underneath just to add some strength and durability. And then I'll wind that material forward up to the 2/3 point of the hook. Next, I'm going to fold my foam over the abdomen area and tie that off, and then advance my thread up to just behind the eye of the hook, and I'll tie that foam piece off again, and then wind over, leaving myself a nice flat area between the head of this pattern and the abdomen of this pattern, where we're going to tie the wing and hackle and legs. So now that I've folded that over, I'm going to go ahead and clip this off just about the length of the that thread area that I just tied over, and then I'm going to notch this on the top, just trimming off the edges of the foam. For the wing, I'm using Enrico Puglisi EP fibers, and the color is white. So I've selected out a bunch of Puglisi EP fibers, and I'm going to tie those in right behind the head on this pattern, and then wind back to right at the front of where I folded that foam over, again reserving that nice flat area where I'm going to place my hackle in a moment. And I'm going to clip this wing off about half the length of the abdomen, and the wing facing forward is going to be about the length of the overall fly, the body. For the legs on this fly, I'm using Crazy Legs, and these are a black red flake leg that really tends to match the red coloration I'm going to use on this pattern. So next, I've clipped off 2 pieces of my leg material, and I'm going to go ahead and tie those in right in this flat space with several soft wraps. And once I've done that, I'll go ahead and adjust them and pull them into place, and then I can bind that material down tightly once I'm satisfied the legs are laying where I want them to. For the hackle on this fly, I'm using a Whiting Farms Grizzly dyed red saddle hackle. So the last step in this pattern is to tie in a saddle hackle right again in that flat spot. And I'm going to go ahead and add just a little bit of super glue into that open area to tie this hackle into. Again, that'll add some durability to this fly. And then we'll wind it all the way up to the very back side of the wing and tie it off underneath the head, and go ahead and clip the excess. And then I'm going to add 2 whip finishes to the head. I don't glue this, so 2 whip finishes certainly won't come apart. And we'll clip off our thread. And the very final step is to trim the hackle on the underside of the fly so it lies very low in the water column. That's an important aspect of this pattern to get it to fish right. So now let me rotate this fly around in my vise so you can see all sides of the Hippie Stomper. So that has been your Sunriver Anglers Fly Tying Corner for this month. I hope you'll give the Hippie Stomper a try, probably in September, early October, while terrestrials are still active in our streams. This is a good pattern, and I've taken some nice rainbows on this pattern out at Crane Prairie and up at East Lake and other places where I've fished this pattern. If you like what you see, please subscribe to this YouTube page and like us at Sunriver Anglers on Facebook. Thanks for watching.